In this session, looking at John Ortberg's book, Soul Keeper, we're going to take a look at the chapter on the soul-challenged world. Ortberg talks to Dallas Willard, his spiritual mentor, about the challenges of ministry and when lives aren't changed, and how difficult that can be. And Dallas responded by saying to him, it's not the accomplishments that we make that matter, it's really the person we become. And so we begin to look at our lives and think of, well, who am I becoming? Who am I when nobody's looking? Or who am I when I think no one is observing me? It kind of points to a depth of soul that's so important of who we are. The changes that can come, shared by Ortberg when he had a variety of stories of people in this chapter, which really helps us to identify and really, I think, connect with the challenges of when you feel like your inner world is wrecking and the difficulties and challenges and unfair this world can be. One of the stories is about Ray Romano, of course, who Everybody Loves Raymond's show. When he first came to the show, it's kind of a rags to riches story. He got his break, and obviously the series did very well, and he became very wealthy in the process. In the last series of that show, Ray shared a note, read to the audience tearfully, a note that his brother gave him on his first day coming to this show. And in it says, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and yet lose his soul? I mean, that's a powerful text when it starts challenging us to think about what it means to lose our soul. I've always thought that from an evangelical perspective, losing your soul is about a destination. What good is it just to live as you want and do what you want in this world when ultimately you lose a relationship with God and your destination is the absence of God, hell. But Ortberg points out as we look at this text that Jesus is pointing to something not about a destination. Ortberg points out that Jesus is talking about a condition of the soul. And so what does it profit a person to gain so much status and wealth and possession when inside their soul is dying and they lose it? So we'll take a look at what it means to live into the purpose of God and find what the soul can become by God's grace. So the soul, if we look at it, is a connection and depth of relationship with God. And when the world is challenged to understand that, we begin to see what Jesus is talking about when he says, what is a profit a person to gain the world but lose their soul? The soul, again, is, as Ortberg points out, it's not about a destination. It's more about a prognosis. And so we kind of begin to look at our soul in terms of what is our current state. If we're so focused on the things of this world that are outside the will of God in terms of love and compassion, we could easily see ourselves trying to find the external things to bring happiness when all along, within the middle and the center of our being, at the depth of who we are, we find that our soul's health is what brings our sense of wholeness and fulfillment, and the outside circumstances have less effect on our life. And boy, can we relate to this. So Jesus begins by explaining this with a parable about sowing seed, the sower, and the soil itself. So when we look at this parable that Jesus exposes the nature of the human soul, it begins by talking about the seed. Now the seed is neither bad nor good. It's just the graciousness of God being scattered everywhere. And that's, of course, the next character is the sower, who gives generously and provides it wherever the seed may land. The parable reveals the different types of soil. There is the bad soil, which not is receptive. And then there's the rich, fulfilled soil that is receptive to the seed, to the news, the good news, the promise, the redemptive love of God. So some seed fell upon the path. It was hardened. It was walked on. And that, in a way, tells about the soul that's hardened. It becomes cynical or bitter or suspicious. Jesus speaks of forgiveness and reconciliation, love. Sometimes the smallest acts of sacrifice or self-denial can break up hard soil. The hardest of soils are often developed through fear and injustice, yet more vulnerable to being saved than it knows. Some seed fell on rocky soil. Not enough root to withstand the heat of the sun. Richard Foster says, superficiality is the curse of our age. We're not in need of intelligence or talent or excitement. We just need depth. Even the psalmist, we read, as the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you. Why, my soul, are you downcast? Deep calls to deep, and the roar of your waterfalls. The soul is the deepest part of you. My soul becomes shallow when my interests and thoughts go no further than myself. A deep soul has the capacity to understand and empathize deeply with other people, not just the self. A deep soul lives in conscious awareness of eternity, not simply today. Depth is realized when it is as it should be, connected with eternity, with God. Depth is the expression of spiritual vastness. You know, the world conspires against our souls by blinding us to the depth and glory of their God-given design and tempts us to be satisfied with immediate gratification and surface relationships. Some seeds fell among thorns which grew up and choked the plants. Jesus said the worries of life and the deceitfulness of wealth and the desire of other things come and they choke the soul. Clutter might be the most dangerous of soul conditions. A person preoccupied with external success and reputation, ceaseless activity and lifestyle, office gossip, may be dead internally and not have recognized their soul condition. The good news, it takes such a tiny little uncluttered space to give the seed some room to grow. The cluttered soul is close to being saved more than it knows. Our souls are waiting. A soul can be saved, but it will take softness and depth and space. The world won't help much. The good news is there's opportunity for the cluttered soul. It just needs so little space to provide opportunity for the rich soil of the soul to be fruitful, to find purpose and depth. So the soul is waiting, and for those of us who keep our souls, we need to recognize that there's opportunity for us to soften the soul, the opportunities to create depth for the seed of goodness to take deep root. And finally, there's the opportunity to unclutter and to give space. You know, salvation for our souls is closer than we think. And that's the good news for us today.